Okay, good afternoon, colleagues and friends, and welcome to the number 19 Tourism Online Forum in June 2023. And this series is hosted by the Center for Advanced Tourism Research, which is called CATS at Hokkaido University. This is your host, Mo. Today, we are very honored to have Associate Professor Hiram to share his recent research titled Responsible Tourism Management and Community Orientation. So from the previous lecture in the early of this week, we invited Professor Joseph to talk about sustainable tourism after the pandemic. So this follow-up lecture is actually talked more detailed about the new concept of responsible tourism, especially in the focus of regional community. So Dr. Hiram is the chairman of SAVAK Research Society, also the director of the Center for Responsible Borneo, and founder of Southeast Asian Research Academy, also associate professor at the Faculty of Hospitality and Tourism Management, UCSI, University of Malaysia, also adjunct associate professor, School of Tourism, Min Chuan University in Taiwan, and also professional chair at the Polytech University of the Philippines, and the Philippine adjunct professor, University Islam Bandung. I hope I pronounced it right, in Indonesia. Basically, you are covers the entire Southeast Asia. Also the ambassador and emerged publisher in East Asia, and editor-in-chief of Young Consumers, as well as editor-in-chief of the Journal of Responsible Tourism Management, and also a panel member of UNWTO panel of tourism experts. So I think today he will mainly talk about the case in Southeast Asia, right? And especially with the topic of community engaged responsible tourism. I think according to his abstract, I think he's really focused on how to benefit the tourism in a really more responsible way. Especially we have to obtain the local support and the knowledge, and also hearing the local voices. Therefore, we can have a better successful tourism management. And he also summarized 6 very important key points. I think later we would like to hear this from him. And if you have any comments and questions, please put your comment in the chat box of the Zoom. And please note that this online lecture is recorded and will upload it to the First Coming YouTube channel. And so let's invite Dr. Hiram to share his lecture. You have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo Sensei. Good afternoon, konnichiwa, to all of you out there listening. It's my privilege to share something which is close to my heart with all of you. It is not only my work, it is also my passion. So when I do research on responsible tourism, when I and my colleagues do things related to responsible tourism, it is the passion that drives us to persist, to persevere, to see it through. So this is not an expert talk. I don't think this is a lecture as well. Rather, it is more like a sharing session. I hope you find my sharing useful, and I'll be more than happy to receive any questions, even comments and feedback from you, so that we can learn from one another. All right, so I will start sharing my slides. I hope you can see my slides. Okay. All right. This presentation or sharing is based on a paper which I co-authored with my colleagues. One of them is from Malaysia, another person is from Indonesia. Even though the paper is published in a journal, it doesn't mean the work is done. In fact, the work only just began, or it is still in the process. Again, I appreciate the introduction from Mo Sensei. Basically, I'm a person who is how should I put it? I'm everywhere. In the past years, I was fully in academia. But after some time, I began to realize that I need to learn things from the industry. I need to learn things from the community. Even though I publish papers, I also become aware that we need to be able to translate knowledge into practice. We need to be able to mobilize knowledge into practice. So this is why, on one hand, I'm in academia. On the other hand, I'm also involved in some local, regional, or international organizations. So when we talk about research, there are 3 journals which I edit directly. One of them, as Mo Sensei introduced earlier, is called the Journal of Responsible Tourism Management. It is a 3-year-old journal. It is a relatively new journal. Early this year, we submitted the journal to Scopus for evaluation. Fingers crossed. We hope it will be evaluated in a favorable way. Another journal is called Young Consumers. It is also a Scopus journal. It is ranked Q1. Now, even Young Consumers might not be directly related to responsible tourism, cultural tourism, yet it welcomes papers, manuscripts related to tourism, as long as our target, the respondents, the populations concerned are related to young generation. So it is a journal that welcomes papers from various disciplines, as long as the focus is on young generation, including children, teenagers. The next journal is called Asian Journal of Business Research. It is in Scopus rank Q2. Similarly, tourism and hospitality are part of business ecosystem. So these are the journals which I did. I have more say. So if you have any papers related to responsible tourism, related to young people, related to business as an ecosystem, do consider these journals. All right, I'm cautious of my time, so I better start sharing what I've prepared for all of you. I'd like to begin with this. We talk about sustainability all the time. It becomes a buzzword. This is a really important issue. United Nations came up with SDGs, I believe it was 2015, as a global movement for us to practice sustainability in the local context. Now, when we look at what is happening now, especially after COVID-19, traveling remains a very important activity. So when you think about tourism and hospitality, it's not just a discipline for tourism and hospitality students and scholars. In fact, everyone experiences tourism. Everyone experiences traveling and hospitality services. We need to go to a restaurant, we need to eat, we need to stay at a hotel when we travel. So if you look at the screen, traveling often creates a huge amount of waste due to single-use disposable items. I think we all know that. Consumers are becoming increasingly aware of this issue and want to find ways to reduce the environmental impact during travel. So this is also a trend. Consumers are becoming more aware of the environmental issues. Sustainable travel products allow customers to feel confident that they make informed decisions with regard to the environment. So many destinations, hotels, they begin to provide more information so that customers can make informed decision. How much carbon emission would they be? What you can do in order to conserve the nature. So these are things that many businesses practice to inform customers. And some customers, or more customers, they begin to read about the destinations before they go, because information is available online. They can read about the place, to learn about the culture, so they can make informed decision when they travel. However, I think this is something, again, familiar with all of you. We are aware of the misuse of the word sustainability in many cases. That's why, as I said earlier, it becomes a buzzword to portray or to present the organizations in a favorable manner. We use the word greenwashing, so that becomes a problem. So not every business that adopts the word sustainability, or green, is practicing sustainability. And if you look at the statistics, 70% of travelers, they want to travel sustainably. Again, this happened during COVID-19, but only 10% of them say that they know how to do this. So yes, in general, we all agree that we should travel sustainably. We should not waste. We should not use single-use disposable item, or we should reduce using them. The issue is only 10% actually know how they could practice sustainability when they travel. So it's difficult for consumers to know which business are truly taking the required steps to be more eco-friendly, to practice eco-friendly measures. So my last point is something that I would like to present to all of you, because towards the end of the slides, you will feel that my sharing gives you more questions than answers. That's why earlier I mentioned I'm no tourism expert. I may share with you some experiences. It doesn't mean what is useful in Sarawak, where I am, is applicable to where you are, Hokkaido or any part of the world. So all these sustainability issue, lack of awareness, lack of know-how becomes a concern. At the same time, it also presents opportunities for researchers, for us to do more. As I mentioned earlier, how can we mobilize knowledge into practice? Our work does not stop at publication. It actually goes further than publication. So that is what we like to do. This is what I like to impress all of you. Now, during COVID-19, we talk about crisis. My question is, was tourism in crisis before or during the COVID-19 pandemic? Most people would say tourism was in crisis because of COVID-19 pandemic. You know, nothing wrong with it. But if you look deeper, if you go deeper, I would like to argue that tourism was already in crisis even before COVID-19 transpired, because COVID-19 exposed our situation. COVID-19 exposed our problems. And COVID-19 taught us many lessons. For example, no one is safe until everyone is safe. Why? Because on one hand, we need all the health measures. We need all the safety protocols in order to, address, navigate the concerns of COVID-19. However, if no one complies all these protocols and measures, they will be useless. And the challenge is, if one person fails to comply, it will become a problem. That's the lesson we learned from COVID-19. Everyone is safe. No, sorry. You know, when no one is left alone, when everyone is safe, then only we will be safe. And it only takes one person to be irresponsible to cause another outbreak of COVID-19. I think, if I remember correctly, there are cases in Vietnam, there are cases in India where people, you know, they relaxed too soon. They thought COVID was over. There was no local transmission. Not long after that statement, it only took one person or a few people to cause another outbreak. My second question, what were the predominant perceptions towards tourism recovery? So when people talk about tourism recovery, for many tourists, maybe they were referring to what they can do, which they can't do during COVID. You know, in the past, we traveled to so many places. Due to COVID, we can't do it anymore. Therefore, tourism recovery means when COVID is over, I can start doing what I did before. If that is the case, God forbid, there will be no surprise that there will be another crisis. Because again, like I said, health measures, safety protocols, all these are still necessary. But the bottom line is people must comply. Everyone must learn to comply. Compliance is a matter of action. Compliance is a matter of behavior. And this gives rise to the need of responsibility. So to explain responsibility in simple words, responsibility is about taking action. Responsibility is about behavioral change. We have world leaders coming together. They talk about world issues, including climate change, including, let's say, human trafficking issues, women empowerment issues. They shake hands, they take group photos. All these are wonderful. At the end of the day, what matters is whether they assume responsibility to make things happen. That is the core question. So when we look at what responsible practices are, you can find a lot of answers, a lot of guidelines, a lot of best practices from online. So I will not go through all this. For example, if you look at this slide, responsible travel industry practices. You know, what are the responsible practices you can do? What about travel business? 2 months ago, my apology, because I caught the flu yesterday, so my voice is a little hoarse. This is not my usual voice. 2 months ago, I was in India. That picture was in India. It was an invitation by the Indian government to talk about responsible tourism. And sitting with me, all of them are business players, except me. I'm from academia, but of course, I begin to work with businesses and communities, but I'm not really into business. So this is something that they come up with. Of course, there are more than that. What business can do to promote responsible tourism? The person who is standing in the picture is Professor Harold Goodwin, my friend. He is the person who who was instrumental to declare responsible tourism in 2002 in Cape Town. So this is a serious conference, what we can do and how we can advance responsible tourism. So responsibility is not only about tourists. It's not only about visitors. It's easy for us to point fingers at the visitors, you know, what they should do, what they should not do, do's and don'ts. What about businesses? Businesses or business entities also have an important role to play to promote responsible tourism. And this is also the reason why, if you look at my title, it's about responsible tourism. The third word, management. So it's not just a topic for us to do research on. I mean, research is important. Responsible tourism is also about management. How do we manage? For example, we talk about over-tourism. We talk about mass tourism. Should we point fingers at the tourists? Should we point fingers at the visitors? Or should we instead ask why mass tourism happens? Why over-tourism happens? It could be due to management. It's not the fault of the tourists. It's because of the management. So things have to be done in such a way that you promote responsible tourism, you encourage responsible tourism. And if you look at the last point, there must be guidelines how responsible tourism can be practiced. Now, when I keep saying responsible tourism, a lot of people will think that, you know, these are all tourism activities. But what about all this? If you look at the pictures, animal abuse, you look at another picture, landfill, another one, climate change, another one, children abuse or manipulation. Now, these four things, for example, seemingly have nothing to do with tourism. Okay, when we talk about tourism activities, we don't really talk about all these issues. But when we talk about responsible tourism, tourism is no longer a goal. It is not just a goal. It becomes a social movement, a process whereby we can manage tourism in such a way that it can reduce negative effects. It can also maximize benefits for the society, for the community. Okay, so later on, I will use a case in Sarawak to explain why responsible tourism is something that all of us have to be mindful of. It is not just for scholars, for practitioners in tourism. It is for every person because we are all involved in tourism and hospitality industry. These are some research done in the past related to responsible behavior. Feel free to have my slides if you find them useful. So I will not go through everything, but research in the past shows when we talk about responsible behavior, it could be there are many facets. It could be something individual. It could be something organizational. It could be something general. It could be something specific. It could be something intentional. It could be something unintentional. And lastly, it could be something in the public sphere. It can also be something in the private sphere. What I'd like to impress you here is responsible tourism can be seen at the micro level. It can also be seen at the macro level. Micro level, it means that all of us individually can do something in a responsible way. At the macro level, it means we need to work together as a unit in order to make a greater impact on others. So it is not just something that world leaders talk about in Congress, in summit. it is also something that you can discuss with your children. You can discuss with your parents. You can discuss with your neighbors what we can do to contribute to our society through tourism as a means. Okay, so like I said, you can look at the article, what this is all about, to put everything into perspective. Professor Harold Goodwin came up with this short statement: responsible tourism is about making better places for people to live in and better places for people to visit. This simple statement shows that responsibility is not only with visitors, customers, it is with every stakeholder in the tourism industry. And another point, it is about taking responsibility, taking action to make tourism more sustainable. Now, the second statement is important. Responsible tourism is not another tourism label. It is not another tourism product. Responsible tourism is not competing with sustainable tourism, green tourism, regenerative tourism. It is not. I'm not sure about others who do research on responsible tourism. As far as I'm concerned, it is not just a label. It is not a product. Responsible tourism is a message. It is a call to action. You can talk about ecotourism. How do we manage our ecological environment in a responsible way? We can talk about gastronomy tourism. We can talk about cultural tourism, heritage tourism. It's the same thing. How do we preserve our cultural heritage in a responsible way? Okay, so it's not a competition. It's not a replacement. That's why I don't really like articles that argue, which one is better, which one is superior. For me, this is not really the essence. The essence here is, it is a call to action. It requires behavior change individually. It requires collective actions at the corporate level. And because responsible tourism concerns behavior change and collective actions, we need to know what are the priorities. For example, we talk about SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. All 17 goals are important. But in your place, which one is more important than the others? The reason is because our resources are limited. We don't have all the resources in the world to do everything. So we need to consider the context of our destination, and we need to consider what are the priorities. And when we talk about collective action, if you look at the second point, it revolves around the ideas of trust and respect. We may have the political will to cooperate, we may shake hands, but at the fundamental level, do we really trust one another? Do we really respect our differences? That would be the fundamental thing to our long-term collaboration. And when we talk about sustainable tourism, more than often, we emphasize more on how negative effects could be reduced. But what about positive benefits? For example, I have a friend, his name is Jaideep Baisal, the CEO of GHE, Global Himalaya Expedition in India, in Himalayan area. So what they do is, for those who like to explore Himalaya, they encourage them to adopt some responsible practices. For example, they can bring some supply to the community who live in Himalaya when they explore Himalaya. Upon returning, they can bring some rubbish, some waste. So during their expedition, they can actually bring benefits to the local people. So it's not just about minimizing negative effects. It's also about how you use responsible tourism as a means to maximize benefits. I hope you get the point. Huh? So this is why businesses play a big role to design their business activities in such a way that not only it reduces negative impacts, it also maximizes positive benefits. All right. Now, this brings me to the last point, which is the focal point of this presentation. It concerns taking pragmatic approaches as stakeholders. What it means is everyone has a role to play. And because of the word responsibility, everyone, including community members, becomes equal partner. Now, when we collaborate, it doesn't mean that everyone is equal partner. Someone plays a bigger role, someone plays a lesser role. But when we talk about responsible tourism as a means, everyone becomes equal partner. Government has its role, private sectors have their roles, universities, researchers have their role, community has its role. And it is a process where we can work together, not only to address negative issues, but also to create values to benefit the wider audience. I hope you are still with me so far. Now, this is a simple diagram which we are still developing. It is still ongoing, but I can show you our result. This is what I mentioned earlier. If you look at the three words in red, what is important? And secondly, which is urgent? And thirdly, how significant it is. The reason is because while there are so many important things, not everything is urgent. And if this is important, if this is urgent, we also need to ask whether it is significant in long term. Okay, so typically when we talk about important, we use the word how much. When we talk about urgency, it is about how soon. When we talk about significance, it is about how long. And that's where sustainability is. Okay, this is also why many of us, including myself, are concerned that we adopt the word sustainability in a very loose way. It is an abstract. It is still an abstract thing without clear steps how to actually achieve it. And if you look at the blue part, we need to identify who are the stakeholders, who is responsible for what. So everyone has a role to play, what role they assume. And like I said, what are the priorities? Because we have limited resources. And finally, we have to look at the context. What is important in Sarawak may not be important in Hokkaido. What is important in Barbados, for example, climate change, is not necessarily important in another place. Now, it doesn't mean climate change is not important. It simply means when it comes to action, we need to plan in a pragmatic way because we need to consider the resources that we have so that we can play our role to contribute to a greater cause. Okay, so my apologies, let me drink again. Okay, so if you have any questions or feedback, just let me know. What and why of responsible tourism? So this is a paper I wrote with my colleagues some time ago. Nothing, fancy. but it emphasizes why it is about taking responsibility, taking actions, and it concerns every stakeholder. And this might also help explain why I said earlier that responsible tourism is not just about the goal that we achieve. It is about the process that we go through. So responsible tourism or tourism can be used as an effective vehicle to drive social change, to elevate economic growth, to sustain environment. When tourism becomes a vehicle, this is where every person becomes relevant. This is where every person becomes an equal partner. I have friends who are engineers, I have friends who are doctors, I have friends who are teachers, not tourism teachers, but let's say history teachers. When tourism is used as a vehicle to drive social change, all of them become relevant. Because they travel, because they stay somewhere, because they eat food, they have children, they need to make sure their next generation learns the lessons. So if you look at the last statement, it's not only about goals, it's the process, if not more. Irresponsibility is more than often the cause. As I said earlier, this is one thing that we learned from the outbreak of COVID-19. What about SDGs 2030? In all honesty, do you think we can achieve SDGs by 2030? Some say, well, not some, many say we won't. And they argue we won't even achieve by 2050 at the rate things are going. We are improving. There are many positive things happen, but the pace of achieving all this is not what we expected in the beginning. Some even say by 2070. Some even say, I read somewhere, by 2090. I don't think, well, I won't be around to witness all this. So the last sentence, responsibility is what sustains tourism and future proofs its development. Okay, so again, responsible tourism is not it's not just a label. It's not a tourism, it's not another tourism product. It's not something that I like to do to make myself different from others. No, as I said earlier, it is more about passion that drives me to do this, because I see this as a way, an alternative to bring different people together for common good, for a greater cause. Everyone is equally important. These are pictures in a place in Sarawak, in Borneo Island. This place is called Bau. So if you go to this place, if you look at the sceneries, all beautiful, all nice, but if you take a closer look, you see all this. You see all this. Ironically, even the signboard put up by the authority is vandalized. Is vandalized. Now, this is a place, Bau is a place which is well known because of its mining activities in the past, gold mining. Now, even though mining activities are restricted, it is prohibited, it is unfortunate that there are many illegal miners doing all this. And they are very clever. When we were there, they were nowhere to be seen. When we left, they appeared. If you go into the caves, you see many holes. These holes are where they put something explosive in order to, extract minerals from all these places. I often told my friends, these illegal miners are so creative. They could be the descendants of Egyptians when they built pyramid. Because if you go into the hole, you are just amazed how they could dig all the tunnels, layer upon layers. One time when I brought 2 geologists to these caves, one of them told me at the mouth of the cave that he does not want to go in because looking at how the cave is, he said this one particular cave can collapse anytime. Now, what can we do? This is also an area protected by the forestry department. This is an area populated by community members, but community members cannot enter the place. Why? It is a protected area. Can you see the dilemma? And when community members are not empowered to safeguard the place, this place becomes the paradise of illegal miners. The enforcement officers, you can say whatever you want. If you don't stay there, you will not be able to address these issues. Like I said earlier, when we are there, they disappear. When we left, they appear and they do all these activities. Every week, not recently, but in the past, when we visited this place on a weekly basis, we could see the difference in the cave, meaning the activities were rampant. Now, what has this got to do to tourism? This is exactly my point. This is why we look at responsible tourism. Why? Because in order to address this issue, we use tourism as a means to address this issue. Now, if the authority cannot address this issue, who am I to address all these issues? I don't live there as well. The illegal miners are very smart. They know where to hide, what to do. And let me make things more complicated. If there is supply, there must be demand, right? And this is why this issue is very complex, because of the demand side. I better don't elaborate all this. So it's something very sensitive, very controversial. If you deal with this matter directly, it will be a big challenge. Now we use tourism as a means. What it means is, let us develop this place as a tourism destination. Let us work together with the enforcement officers, with the community members. The enforcement officers, we still need them to enforce laws. And we bring community members to meet the enforcement officers. Why not we allow the community members to take care of this place at the same time? And why not we develop this place as a tourism destination? Now, it does not solve the issues immediately, but what happens is it begins to reduce illegal mining activities. So enforcement officers, they do their job. Community members, they become the custodians of their own backyard, even though it is a protected areas. At the same time, it becomes a tourism destination. Visitors can visit with permission. So I hope you see the picture why early on, when I talk about human trafficking, animal abuse, landfill, something that may not concern tourism directly, but when tourism is seen as a process, and when we manage tourism in a responsible way, not only it reduces negatives, it also brings benefits to the people. Okay, so these are the things that we do, and all these points are in the paper, which I will share with you briefly later. This is a project we proposed to the government some years ago. The proposal, the project was eventually approved, and we received some funding for this project. But what happened next is we put aside the objectives of the project. When we went to this place, the first thing that we do, we wanted to make friends with the local people. So even though we have a project approved by the government, we decided to put all these objectives aside first. We wanted to make friends with the community leaders, the community members, and we spend more time listening to their voices. If we went there telling them that, look, this is a project by the government, these are the objectives, and therefore let's do it, all of you must listen, I will not say that this is incorrect. I could only comment on what we did, and that is when we started the project with communication with the community leaders, the community members, it makes the whole process a lot easier, and it makes the whole process a lot more satisfying. When we approached them, one of them asked me this question: are you coming here because of grant? You know, indirectly, she is already hinting me, you may disappear when the grant finishes. So they on one hand, they appreciate our work. On the other hand, they are wondering whether we are genuinely caring for them. So this would be my first point. Effective communication, how we communicate with the community, in particular community leaders, because they are the nudges. They affect community members. And not only one-time communication, we visited them again and again and again and again to ensure that we earn the right for them to trust us. Okay, how did we know? After several visits, they began to tell us things which are not written. They began to bring us to places which are not explored, which are less explored. That shows they begin to trust us. And that communication becomes the foundation for us to do the project funded by the government. So if you need more detail, I can share with you later. But in general, this would be the first thing. And number two, we approach the local authority and we want to form partnership with them. When we do that, we do it with the support from the community members. If we go there as researchers, they may respect us as researchers because we are someone from university, okay? But when we go there with the support from the community leaders and community members, it will be more prevailing. It will be more prevailing. So it is a collaboration between researchers and the community leaders, community members. We have their voice, and their voice is channeled through us as academics in a scholarly manner, in a more convincing manner. So this is how partnership is formed. We don't tell our story. We tell the stories from the communities. Yet the communities have problems, or I shouldn't say problem. Sometimes they are limited in expressing those stories, uttering those terms. So we do it with them, for them, in order to make it more presentable to the government. Next point, we develop.
Sorry to interrupt. You have 10 more minutes. So far already audience raise up their hand, but please wait for 10 minutes to ask question. Okay, sorry.
Thank you, Mo Sensei. Okay, so next point is community capacity building program. Communal activities, training. If you look at the pictures, meetings with the community leaders to build their capacity, how they do business, how they develop the place. There's one particular place, not in the picture. It's called Paku Road Maze Garden. It's a place which was not explored at all. But when we explore this place together with the community leaders, community members, this place now becomes one of the very popular sites in Sarawak. No entrance fee, but the donation that they receive from the visitors exceed the entrance fee which we initially planned. Because people are willing to donate when they see the place and when they realize that this is a place developed by the community members voluntarily. Not only they enjoy the place, now they can promote responsible tourism at the same time. So they receive donation to maintain the facilities, to improve the place. Another point is elderly consultation. This might surprise many people. I believe this is the phenomenon in Japan as well. Of course, in Sarawak, it's less serious, but it's becoming more and more serious, and that is in rural areas, in villages, the aging issue. Young people don't stay in villages, and elderly, they do nothing. They just do a bit of gardening because, you know, they are old, they can't do much. When we went to this place, we approached these elderly people and we told them, all of you are our national treasure. Because your age, because of you, you represent what this place is about. So we spend time with them, interviewing them in order to document all the stories from them. One elderly, he was almost moved to tears because no one cares about me, but suddenly this group of researchers, they wanted to know everything about me and my experience in this place. So they become alive. They represent the identity of these villages. So that's why we use the word national treasure, national treasure. Women empowerment in businesses, housewives. This is something that we are more familiar with. And last but not least, school engagement. So we engage schools because young people have to be empowered in order to safeguard their own place. One day, they may go elsewhere to study, but we want to instill that values into them with the hope that one day they see opportunities in their hometown. They see opportunities, they have the sense of mission to return to where they are from in order to make a contribution to their own place. So I could only tell you so much. So this is the paper that I wrote, and we came up with the model, but this is a paper for responsible tourism in Southeast Asia. Sorry, this is the paper that I would like to highlight. So if you find this presentation useful, maybe you like to read more, get more details from this paper. And we come up with a diagram. There are 4 P's: process, partnership, platforms, and people. Elderly, women, and school, these 3 belong to people. That's why you have a bigger pie. Platform is the programs, the activities that we create. And partnership, how we partner with the local people and also local authorities. Why anti-clockwise? Because of how the earth rotates. This is the way we can move faster. How? It is by involving community in our decision-making process. community has to be in the frame of tourism development so that the cultural heritage is conserved, the elderly, the women are empowered, the children, the young people are engaged. Again, this is the way how we can involve every person as equal partner. And this is also a way for us to manage tourism development in a responsible way. I hope I could use the last few minutes to introduce a few things to you. Number one, this is a journal which I edit. It's called Journal of Responsible Tourism Management. Professor Harold Goodwin is one of the advisory board members. So if you have any if you have any paper related to sustainability, green issues, regenerative tourism, perhaps this is an avenue for your publication. Let us know if you need more information. Like I said, young consumers is another avenue. Asian Journal of Business Research is another avenue. I have a few special issues. One of them is with Dr. Aaron and others. I checked with him. Unfortunately, this special issue will end by June, end of June. It is a special issue with Journal of Heritage Tourism. If you have a paper, working paper, which is about ready, you might want to consider this special issue for your publication. We also write a lot of papers which are non-academic, but again, because of the mission that we have, we like more people to read our work. So we also publish in newspapers, magazines. All these do not contribute to my KPI, but the message reaches to the wider audience. Some events that we do to empower the young people. So this is one of them, Sarawak Youth Talent, Responsible Tourism in Culture and Nature. If you look at the blue boxes, more and more students participated. This is a conference which will happen in Bogor, 21st to 25th of August. I hope more sensei can join. I also give you the map where Japan is and where this venue is. And when you fly to Indonesia, you will pass by Sarawak, where I stay. So let me know if you need more information about this conference, because this is a conference not only for academia. We invite academia, we invite industry, we invite government officials, and also we invite community members. All of us come together, use this as a platform to harness partnership, to learn from one another. And whatever we discuss, not only we shake hands, not only we take group photos, we hope it builds connection for things to happen, to make things happen. This is another platform in Southeast Asia. This is where we compile and showcase short stories about responsible tourism in Southeast Asia. The reason is because many people out there don't read journal articles, too long, too complex. What about short stories, 300 to 500 words in different places in Southeast Asia to inspire people, to motivate people, and hopefully to connect people, including all of you in Japan. So this is another innovative approach that we do to connect. I believe this is my last slide. Things to ponder and discuss. Therefore, I raise questions instead of giving you solutions. So these are things that we can think and we can always discuss further. Number one, how do we design strategies which are actionable individually and collectively? It is responsible tourism is something at the micro level. It is also something at the macro level, something which world leaders talk about, something which students can talk about and can practice immediately. Partnership between public and private sectors, partnership between academia and industry. Decision-making involving community in the frame. Do we work for them or we work with them? Many times, public or private sectors may argue, we do it for them, but we actually don't involve them in the decision-making process. If we treat them as equal partners, we should be working with them. Number 5, seeing tourism as a driver, a vehicle, a process, a social movement for a greater cause. Therefore, everyone is important. Everyone becomes an equal partner. The last 2 points. After sharing all this, I hope it is clear that responsible tourism is about management. How we manage tourism in a responsible way to sustain tourism, to future-proof our tourism development. Last but not least, responsible tourism is about behavioral change. It's about taking actions. Therefore, human values play a big part. We trust one another, we respect one another, even though we are different outwardly, our differences should become our strength to work together, to utilize, to capitalize on our differences for a greater cause. Respecting the elders, respecting the nature, working with people with diverse background. Yes, we can argue, but we don't hate, we don't hold any grudges against one another. So these are the values that we need to hold on to. We are concerned, especially when we are moving deeper into digital era, technological era, AI. What about human touch? What about human values? Sometimes I look at my kids, they are on their phone all the time, watching handphone, less social activities. So these are things that all of us should look into. Okay, so I think I will stop my presentation here. My apology, I did not abide my time too well. But I'm happy to listen to any comment, any feedback from you. Over to you, Dr. Mo.
Okay, thank you, Haram Sensei. Thank you very much, and especially when your throat is not very comfortable. So there is one participant raise up the hand. Should I allow you to talk? If no other question, please also leave the question in the Q&A box. Okay, maybe I will start a question first if other people are not ready. I'm thinking before, I think back to 2 or 3 years ago, there is a book about responsible tourism. And it's kind of summarized a lot of case study in Southeast Asia. And also your journal is about responsible tourism. I'm quite wondering, is this term very popular in developing regions, especially in the Asian Pacific, or is it quite a global kind of tourism movement, also cover the global North country, but this term is not very popular yet?
Yeah.
I'd like to know your comments about this.
Responsible tourism research is not new. It has been around for 2 or 3 decades. But like what you said, it is not a popular term. And also, it is something that put more emphasis on action. So you can do all the research that you need, which is necessary. Like I said, at the end of the day, it's about putting words into action. And this is also why it is less popular in a sense. Sustainable tourism or sustainability is a big word. It's a big word. It is something very popular in everywhere. But in Southeast Asia, less people talk about responsible tourism. But I like to say more and more people are becoming aware of it. Again, not just because it is a researchable topic. Instead, it is a social movement that all of us should be involved. So this is my response to you. In terms of research, I'm not sure how it would develop over time. Of course, one thing that I did 3 years ago, as you mentioned earlier, we started the Journal of Responsible Tourism Management. I'm aware that I think last year, Journal of Hospitality Tourism Research, JHTR, also has a special issue on responsible tourism. So it seems that more and more people becoming aware of it. And my early argument is that for me and my colleagues, we are not really into the nomenclature, the debate on what responsible tourism is. Rather, it's more about translating knowledge into practice.
Yeah, okay. I have another follow-up question is actually in Japan, there is also new cases, what they call themselves responsible tourism after COVID-19. I also found one case study from Hiroshima. They tried to allow tourists to visit those less visited areas, then reevaluate the local shrine story and developing hiking course. Especially they try to raise some fund through some NPO and also involve community members. So I think it's quite a global phenomenon. It's not really limited in some region, especially not everybody talk about SDGs, but not really people think about what is the more responsible way. Like you said, it's not just about visitors, it's also about people who live in there, right?
Yeah, you are right. If we look at responsible travel as an isolated or individual topic, then you will find a lot of information online. So people have been talking about responsibility, responsible travel, what you should do, what you should not do. If you Google using these keywords, if you use ChatGPT using these keywords, I'm very sure what responsible practices are in hotel, in restaurant. You will have a list of all these practices. Like I said, all these are related to actions, and these are things that you can do now rather than goals that you want to achieve. So SDGs are goals. Of course, it also implies what you need to do now. So it's not new in a sense. But to look at responsible tourism in a holistic manner, beyond travel activities, as I mentioned earlier, I link it to human trafficking. I link it to children abuse, child abuse. Then this is something that requires more research, and we also need more stakeholders who can take the lead to show that tourism can be used as a means for a greater cause.
Okay, thank you very much. I still wish our faculty members and students could raise up some questions. I think it's very, very interesting topic and also quite fresh data from both research as well as industry. So is there any questions? Please raise up your hand.
Is there a question in Q&A?
Let me check.
Thank you for your exciting lectures. Thank you. Though through COVID crisis, we see how tourism is vulnerable to natural disaster. You are absolutely right. So now I wonder, promoting tourism is a good way or not to develop our economy or solve social issues. I would like your opinion. Thank you for the question or comment, because this is something that I and my colleagues strongly advocate as well. For example, in Sarawak, we promote culture, we promote adventure, we promote food, we promote festivals. What we should do now is let us promote all these products through the lens of responsible tourism. So yes, you can still promote tourism, but right now our mission becomes more nobler, because while we promote all these products, we also deliver the message about our responsibility. So not only people visit the place because of promotion, people also know what they can do for the community when they visit the place. Last week, 50 lecturers and students from India visited the place that I showed you just now, Bau. Initially, the program was designed by a travel agency. So they just visit all these places. When I have the itinerary, I told my faculty members, I told the travel agent, let's change a bit. Before they visit this cave and that place, let them meet the community leaders and community members. So when they visit the leaders, when they visit the members, then, you know, that communication, that connection makes the visit a lot more meaningful and memorable. If I want to visit another place again, Japan has many nice places. What makes me more memorable is not just the scenery, it is the connection that I have with the nature, culture, and the people there, So let us use tourism development as an opportunity for us to promote, educate, instill the sense of responsibility among our stakeholders. That will be my response to you. I hope it helps.
Okay, thank you, Kawamura-san's questions. I have one more question after that. Since you also mentioned education activity and other activity in your presentation, I would like to know, instead of university level education on the local level, what kind of activity from your experiences is very suitable in your cases? How do you conduct educational activity in your case with the local stakeholders? That's my question.
With the students or local stakeholders?
Both from
Oh,
university
okay.
side as well as a community side. I would like to know a little bit. Thank you.
All right. General response. Actually, it was in my earlier slide. I did not elaborate. With students, responsibility can be taught, but it should not remain as a doctrine, rhetoric. So what we can do is we design assignment projects in such a way that students can have first-hand experience. So in the process, not only they learn the concepts, but they also develop the values, the habits, the qualities needed to exercise their leadership, their responsibility. You know, we can teach what responsible practices are. You know, it's not that difficult. But lecturers, educators have a big role to play, how to design the program in such a way that students have first-hand experience. So it is more skill-based, including our curriculum, our internship programs, how we design all this in such a way that students not only learn things from the textbooks, but they can actually put them into practice. So that would be my first response. Now, for local stakeholders, in Sarawak, when we started promoting this, we don't get green light everywhere. There will be resistance. There will be people arguing. why are we, reinventing the wheel? We already have the word sustainable tourism. Why do we need new measure? So on and so forth. Our approach is for rural areas, let's begin with those which are willing. For local businesses, we are not expecting we don't expect the change immediately, but we begin with 1 or 2 or 3 first. So when we work with them and when they work with us, it's easier for us to implement our initiatives, and it's easier for them to learn from us, to work with us. As times go by, we have more and more successful stories. Again, this is why I mentioned about short stories just now. And then we showcase these short stories. We use our conferences, we use our seminars, we use our webinars, we invite them to share their stories. We use testimonies, stories to inspire them. They don't need me to give another lecture. They will be bored to death. But when they listen to stories, and they listen these stories from those in the same industry, they begin to see how their business can be identified to their stories. And it slowly convinces more and more people. Another thing I like to mention here, again, it is easy said than done. Another thing we are doing now, that's why I show, I think the last 3 or 4 slide. At the policy making level, we also presented this to the ministry, because in order to ensure that it could be implemented in the whole state or even in the whole Southeast Asia later, we also have to work with the policymakers to come up with blueprint, roadmaps, and guidelines. So it is not just a top-down approach. It is also a bottom-up approach. And let me say this, it is also an approach where we broker the top-down and bottom-up. If you just rely on top-down, we know it may not work effectively. Well, it may, but the community's voice is not heard. If bottom-up, they may not have the resources. And when these 2 things happen, our experience tells us we still need people, especially all of us here, researchers who are in academia, who are also involved in consultancy project. We need someone in the middle to broker this relationship in order to make it work. Sometimes we understand they do things in short term because of their tenure. But when you do things with passion as a society, as an association, then you see something long term. So I hope I respond to you in the way that you expected.
Thank you.
And we have
we have one more question from Kathleen. How can government and tourism organizations encourage businesses to adopt responsible tourism practice? I think it's an excellent question after this one.
It's again easy said than done. I'm thinking, how should I respond to these questions? Because so many things happened in the last few years, and then we strategize our moves, our tactics. But like what Sensei said, this is a valid question. There are people who accept, there are people who resist. So again, we see this as an ecosystem where we need to develop strategies in order to make things work. Like I said earlier, we propose a proposal to the policymaker why this concerns the future development of tourism. At the same time, we engage with organizations, communities. Not everyone agrees, but we begin with those who accept in order to create more and more success stories. And the way we approach, as I mentioned earlier, when we approach the community members, we don't go there and tell them what they should do. We make friends with them. This is why I highlighted human values in my last slide. You see this as a value co-creation process. You see this as a process where you create partnership with trust and respect. If you treat this just as a project, then challenges are bound to happen. Anyway, challenges are part of the process. So I dare not say that where I am, we are already there. We are still in the process. The struggle continues, but we begin to see some positive signs. And I'm glad that UNWTO saw our work last year. And this is why when we invited them to join our conference, they accepted and they attended in person. This year, they will attend again. So these are things that we do. I know I did not really answer this question. Perhaps we can discuss more about it in greater detail. Yeah.
Okay, if there is no further question, and I probably should let you rest your throat. I'm very worried about because it's almost 90 minutes. And thank you very much for all kind of information, the 3 journals, also special issues, and the forthcoming conference. I hope if people who research Southeast Asia or South Asia as well, or with the topic of responsible tourism management, you should definitely follow up those informations. And thank you again, Hiram Sensei, and really appreciate you shared your recent publication and research. And if there is no more question, I think we can finish today's session and let you rest as soon as possible. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. My apology for my deficiency. Those 2 or 3 questions, if more elaboration is needed, Mo Sensei, you can share my email address with them.
Yes.
I'll be more than happy
yes.
to elaborate and maybe to know them in person.
Okay, next week I will upload this video to the CATS YouTube channel. Then I will announce with your email address to the students. And again, thank you very much for joining today's online series, and see you next time. And the next speaker will be Aaron Sensei from Australia.
Oh, wow.
Right after you. So it's a small world.
Interesting.
Okay.
We're all connected.
Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. Have a great rest.
Have a good day. Goodbye.
Hope to invite you again in future. Thank you.
Sure. My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Okay.